Hey there, so today I'm going to go over the major types of operating systems. Now, I'm leaving out Linux and Unix and some of the other ones that exist just because they're not as common. Well, at least not in the consumer world. So without further ado, let's start with Windows. Windows is definitely the most known and the most widely used. It runs on virtually any type of hardware that you're going to find in a computer. It looks similar to this. This is Windows 11. This is the start menu being clicked, where the start menu is where you can access literally anything on your computer, programs, files, the whole 9 yards. So if we come back to the types of operating systems, go into Mac. So this is Mac OS X. This is a screenshot from Sierra. This is Mac's desktop. You've got you've got Finder in the bottom left-hand corner and the dock, which has all of the icons at the bottom. You can all just similar to Windows. You can also have your icons on the desktop. Obviously, the screenshot doesn't have any. And then one difference from Windows is that you've got the top bar where you've got menu items that would normally be embedded in the window in Windows. Now, one thing to note on Mac OS X is that it only runs on Mac hardware officially. You can find hacks for it, but it's not as stable unless you buy Mac OS X hardware or Apple hardware. The upside of Apple hardware is that it's designed by Apple, so everything fits seamlessly. But with that said, Windows is definitely getting better and catching up in terms of the stability. So at this point, it's kind of a toss-up if you're going to choose between the two. If you've got the money to throw towards Mac, it's definitely worth looking at. If you don't, then Windows is not a problem these days. So we'll moving on. Again, this is just a very quick overview. I'm not going too in-depth. There's just too much to cover. If I were to try to go in-depth, then that would make this video very long, and then you would get bored. So the next one is iOS and iPadOS. So, common confusion, the newer iPads do not run the same exact operating system as your iPhone. Your iPhone runs iOS, which looks like this. Has your dock at the bottom with your commonly used, and then you can swipe between screens to get all of your applications. I personally find iOS to be a little bit oversimplified and in the long run more confusing than Android, but hey, that's just me. So come back. So here's an example of iPadOS, where you get that nice wide screen, you have more room, more screen space, you've got some widgets on the left. Generally speaking, apps will work on both of them, unless the developer coded that app specifically to only work on iPhone, but typically the apps are going to be interchangeable, unlike apps between iPad or iOS, iPadOS, and macOS. macOS doesn't use quote-unquote apps; they use applications, or websites. Again, that's more of a case-by-case basis. So, for example, Chase.com, it would be a website on your Mac, but it's going to be a website and an available application on your mobile device. Again, not going too in-depth into that. And without further ado, we come back to types of operating systems, and the last one is Android, which is what I am running on and recording this on. Android has a bunch of different flavors. The base is almost always the same background, but you could have different levels of settings. So for example, my home screen looks like this, where I have all my common apps. I've got some widgets that I commonly use. I've got a search bar to find everything that I need, versus a stock Android launcher, which might have different screens and different apps. So there's a lot more customization that goes into Android than iOS and iPadOS. I know there was a lot of hate with Android when they first initially released. They have gotten a lot more stable over the years and have in my opinion, have caught up, if not surpassed, the iPhones in terms of stability. So that is a quick run through of all of the types of operating systems, the common types of operating systems that you'll run into. If you have any questions, feel free to reach on out.